Are these guys mad? Why doing this? So I'm going to give you in this video 4 things to become a successful architect. Hello guys, welcome to this new episode. New episode is kind of a new type of episode as well. That is because usually I do a lot of technical tutorial content in this channel, how to do this and how to do that and what is my experience and so on and so forth. But also when I look back through my content, and also when I look back through the industry, there is a huge gap where there is no one telling you how to become an architect. Most of architect in industry, they become an architect based on their experience, their maturity, and the type of solution, type of project they have worked on. So other than that, no one exactly say how to think as an architect. Right? So you're a software engineer, you're coming from a technical background, you solving so many problems. So now it's like as much as you solve problem, you can become a good architect. True. In my channel also, I'm teaching best practices and how to do this and how I do things and so on and so forth. But from today onwards, I'm going to open a dedicated playlist, dedicated channel in this is not a new YouTube channel, dedicate path in my YouTube channel to teach you how to think as an architect, in simply how to become an architect. So there I'm not much focusing on the technical aspect. I'm not going to teach in this playlist as how to do this in AWS, how to Google Cloud, and how to do with this and that, right? But rather than that, based on my experience, based on the book I have read, and based on the content I have seen, and based on the real life experience, I'm going to teach you a new way, or I'm going to teach you how to become an architect or how to think as an architect. Okay. So again, this is not a technical content, so you won't expect any live code example or something like that. So those tutorial will go in a different playlist as usual. This is a dedicatedly for someone who want to become an architect. So today is kind of a very first episode of that. So who is an architect? There is no any exact answer to give. It's depend on the company. It depend on the environment you are working on. It depend on the size of the company, size of the problem you are solving, or size of the project you are solving. Because it's a smaller project, someone with a few experience may be an architect. But if it is a larger project, maybe we are looking for someone with 20 to 25 years of experience to become an architect. Let me to explain. This is in a very simple example. Okay. Let's say someone of you know, let's say one of your friend, we experiencing a high body temperature. Let's say body temperature is 100 Fahrenheit, right? 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So then someone like a casual who don't have a medical background, we call he has a fever, right? Because his body temperature is higher than the usual. But when you take this person to a doctor doesn't say this as a fever, because there is no illness called fever. Fever is a sign of something else. Fever tells you something else going wrong with your body. So doctor will jump and see, okay, this could be infection. Where the infection is, he will ask, do you have a wound, do you have a this and that, and so many other things. Why? Because we both see the same thing, but the way he think and whether you think or whether I think is a different. Architecture is something like that, right? We may have the same problem, but the way software engineer look at that problem and the way architect look at that problem is a very different. That is why most of the time there's a disagreements in projects, because software engineers are most of the time like a 5 years or less than 5 years experience, but architects are most of the time 15 or 20 years of experience. So then architects see very bigger picture than what software engineers see. So software engineers bringing up a point where like it's a fast, it's a quick, and it's easy to implement and so, right? But maybe architect proposing something which is hard to implement or like more work to do, more time to deliver. Then software engineers start to think, this guy is mad. Why doing this? It's a very easy way to do this. This can fix in one day, but with the way he says this, it takes 7 days. But the problem is architects see some bigger picture, some like 5 years ahead than you. Sometimes he's trying to avoid the future problems. Sometimes he's trying to give you a future features like a scalability or a availability kind of things, where software engineers usually don't see those things. So we see the same thing but in a different way. So thinking about architecture is not architectural thinking. Architectural thinking is very different from thinking of architecture. Okay, so content I am going to bring through this channel, to this playlist, are not just my own content, the own ideas. Those are the things, some books I have referred, like Fundamental Architecture, How to Become an Architect, and Guide, I don't remember the exact book list, but I have read multiple books, right? And also I watch multiple content, and like Everyday Design, the Norman. So these contents are collection of things I have read and my perspective, right? So this is not a rule or criteria to become an architect, just an idea. So you can listen it, and you can, if you agree, you agree. If you don't agree, yeah, you don't agree, it's fine, we can move on. So I'm going to give you in this video 4 things to become a successful architect. Number 1, you need to understand difference between architecture versus design. Architecture is one thing, design is another thing. We are going to talk deeper in these topics in future, but for today, just see you need to understand difference between architecture versus design. For example, you may create architecture for your project. The communication between the process servers and process services and the microservices should be message driven, right? And that is your architecture, right? So there are background services. The communication between background services and your microservices communication has to be message driven, not HTTP based services. That is your architecture. And when someone takes this architecture and design the particular use case, they may use Kafka. That's a design. So see, difference between design and architecture. You are saying the architecture says use the messaging, the design says use a Kafka. So you need to understand this difference very clearly. Number 2, if you want to become an architect, if you are a master of one technology, it is not good. You have to have a technical breadth and depth. Actually, you have to have a more technical breadth than the technical depth, right? That doesn't mean in any manner you should not have a technical depth. You should have, right? But it's good, it's always required to have a technical breadth. Let's say you're dealing with the numbers, right? Floating point numbers. If you know how the type sensitive things like a Java, this is how dealing with, how JavaScript based framework dealing with, how Python dealing with these things, that's a breadth. So you have that mean when you design solution, you're thinking about those. For example, you are going to do with the caching. If you know in depth about the Redis and how Redis works, it's good, but it's not great. It's great if you know how multiple caching providers do their job and how those works, right? If you get like Elasticache, how the Memcache works and how the Redis works. What is the use case for Memcache and what is the use case for Redis, right? Or you can go with some sort of in-memory caching, right? Least use algorithm or something like that, right? So having the broader, wider understanding about those things and those axes is giving you more benefit to become an architect. Whereas software engineers, we accept the depth knowledge about one particular topic or one particular area. So now the third one is you should ready to give up, right? So you can't carry everything with you. For example, let's say you come up with the architecture where you have multiple choices, right? So for example, notification, you have an in-app notification, you have SMS notification, you have email notification, and so, right? So you need to trade off between this and that. So if I get the more realistic example, let's say you have some backend services to communicate. So you are giving me, you have two choices. Either you can have HTTP based API, or you can have a gRPC, or you can have messaging, right? Now you have 3 choices. Now that is where technical breadth comes. You know pros and cons of each, right? If I go with this, this is the benefit. If I go with this, this is the benefit. If I go with this, this is the benefit. So now what you need to do is you should be able to analyze this trade-off and decide this is my choice. If you can do this, right? If you can trade off something, okay, if I go with this, but I'm going to lose this, but I need this. If you're stuck emotionally like that, then you can become a good architect. So you should be able to get few solutions and analyze the trade-off and throw away something and go with the whatever you choose, right? Because sometimes people like don't like to give up certain things. People like to somewhere hang on the project. I have seen projects, they get whatever the dreams they are seeing in the last night to the project, and the project go haywire, right? So if you like the project architect is finalized, and today when you go home or something like that, when you read a blog post or YouTube video, you see a nice fancy technology, so you're dreaming, oh, I need to plug this somewhere into my project, because then my project is so like a latest state of art technology. No, that doesn't work like that. You can do it, right? So finalize your few architectures, but then analyze the trade-off and throw something out and go move with the whatever you have in hand and what you finally agree to go. So the fourth one I'm taking as the importance of the business drive, because most of the time we think we are technical people, we don't have to deal with the business ideas, right? That's why we have a people called creature called business analyst. That is wrong, because you are an architect, you are the front person, everyone is come to talk. If you can think of a business domain, if you don't have the business idea, what the problem you are solving in the business wise, then you can be success. Because for example, if you are dealing with some manufacturing, it's always good to understand the procurement domain and all those domain ideas. Why? Because then only you can have a productive communication with your stakeholders. I remember one time I was asked to design a finance solution. So there I went and learned SLA, Sri Lankan Accounting Standards. So end of that, I had like good knowledge as someone who's done the financial special, right? Why? Because I learned those SLAs, then only I can go and talk to those auditors, then only I understand their language, then only I can translate my language to their language. We can expect them to learn technical. It's easy, us go and learn about their language in the sense their business domain. So it is not that expecting you to be master on that, at least the way that, at least to the level where you can build a productive communication, right? Let's say you are working with the manufacturing industry, then understand the manufacturing domain, allow you to go and talk to the CEO, go and talk to the director board, because they are master on that. So when they says these things, you should be able to understand, and then you should be able to get the nice example, easy example, that they are easy to understand. If you work in if you're working in the finance domain, then it's always good, always better to understand the finance terminologies, finance concept, and all those things, right? I'm not asking you to be master, but at least the level where you can make a dialogue. So those are the four things you need to have in order to become a successful architect, if you want to become an architect. So that's the end of the first video, and I hope I can continue this this particular playlist to tell you how to become an architect, share my experience. Then we'll talk to you in the next video.